because I consider myself to be from Virginia originally. And so, and yet Toledo is the place I am now most familiar with. So I'm going to read a couple poems that first two are sort of set in Toledo, and we'll go from there. Vehemence. The dog is vehement about the cat. The cat, in turn, leaps vehemently atop the fridge. Instinct. You know how this goes. Let's cut to the scene where the dog wash bottle is empty, and I'm forced to bathe said dog with Vitalis for Men 2 in 1. The two not meant to be dog and man, but dog is easier to bathe when the great wall of ceramic tile keeps him focused on the task at hand. I rub his frothing coat vigorously, and he looks at me with patented dog eyes, long suffering as if he were innocent of the incident with lasagna, which finally reached agreement with his twitchy digestive tract after a long discussion between his diarrhea and my gag reflex about the politics of human proclivities in relation to the lower forms. And here his ears go back, and he makes to break out of the porcelain gymnasium in which he works out his spotty pass, the bitch who gave him up for being too big, the new family who abandoned him for 4 days so they could go off for golf, and reminded him of the other family who did not want him vehemently enough to keep him. The new family went to West Virginia in the hills for swimming in outdoor pools so warm they had to get out with the same trepidation they'd normally use to get in. This Yorkie is vehement about everything. His sulk is longer than a Russian novel. His bark exclaims at the bright sunrise, and we scamper to the screen door to let him in, lest he disturb the other dogs in their barking. The Labradoodle in the next yard is on a chain, no fence, the poor bastard. This Yorkie has had it with the aimless mastery of humans. This doesn't warm him to the rest of canine society, full of needy, anorexic Weimaraners and retired greyhounds named Jake, who can't believe they aren't still in the game. Big dogs, little dogs, he doesn't care. They just better stay out of his yard, out of his bath, out of his life. I figured I'd start a little angry and get nicer. I always sort of joke with people who aren't from around here when I tell them where I live, that I live on the wrong side of the lake. Because since I grew up in the South, I still have an unnatural affection for snow, and I feel like I always get the short end of the stick living in Toledo. And I hear about, now I know a lot of you are probably really happy about it. So anyway, this poem is called The Wrong Side of the Lake. The dog, there's a theme going on, maybe. The dog chuffs like a steam train in the damp cold. The patchy snow needs freshening. The children check the weather report and sigh and trudge to school, breaking the thin white crust under their feet. Not suffering is a kind of suffering, isn't it? The paint on the front porch peels and salt scuffs the gray away. The dog refuses to be ejected into the snow and chases the cats to the basement. The ancient furnace roars awake, and the one scabby cat who is always almost dead flies from the firebox to the nearest duct, a crash you would not believe. Not suffering, eh? The cat would say if she said anything, but this is not that kind of poem. None of my animals speak at midnight on Christmas Eve, snow or no snow, and their voices pile to garage rafters above bleak sleds with nothing to occupy them. Not suffering the bleak midwinter's worst hell is a kind of suffering, say the middle child's red cheeks and eyes, walking to the bus Half an hour before sunrise, ice in her boots and a ball of acrylic yarn wrapped around her head and down her throat on the outside, covering her the way the damned absent snow does not.